Thank you, Speaker. I present the Abolition of Special Prospecting Authorities Ocean Protection Bill 2024 and the explanatory memorandum.
And I call the clerk.
First reading, a bill for an Act to amend the Offshore Petroleum and Greenhouse Gas Storage Act 2006 and for related purposes.
Give the call to the member for Kooyong.
I move that this bill now be read a second time. Mr Speaker, Victoria's Otway Basin is a 500-kilometre long stretch of seafloor which is in places 5,000 metres deep. In recent years, the Otway Basin has repeatedly been subjected to seismic blasting, a significant environmental insult which has been insufficiently regulated and monitored by successive federal governments. This private member's bill aims to halt the issuing of special prospecting authorities, or SPAs. These are licences issued at nominal cost to overseas companies to enable their repeated, uncontrolled and essentially unsupervised seismic blasting of our unique and our irreplaceable marine environment. Seismic blasting blasts the seafloor with high-powered air guns every 10 to 15 seconds, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for weeks or months at a time, to map offshore oil and gas reserves and to identify sites for carbon capture and storage. These blasts reach more than 250 decibels. They can be louder than the detonations of atomic bombs. They injure and they kill marine wildlife. At the northern end of that Otway Basin, the Bonnie upwelling pushes cold water onto the coastal fringe. This attracts an extraordinary variety of sea life: blue whales, southern right whales and humpbacks, pygmy whales, orcas, dolphins and porpoises. All are sonar-dependent cetaceans which can be rendered helpless by the violent sound pollution of seismic blasting. Blasting also destroys zooplankton and phytoplankton. It endangers food sources for the whole marine ecosystem. The fishing industry is vital for the Colac Otway community. It reliably sees decreased catch rates of commercially fished species, including rock lobster, crab and tuna, after blasting has occurred in the area. On one occasion, whiting catch rates at lake's entrance during local seismic testing fell 99.5%, while the flathead catch declined at the same time by 71%. Community members from Kooyong and beyond have come to me with their concerns over the extent and repetition of ongoing fossil fuel exploration off our coasts. In recent years, tens of thousands of Australians have rallied, they've petitioned and they've made submissions regarding their opposition to repeated seismic blasting of our oceans. In Victoria, communities have been concerned about two particularly egregious proposals for seismic blasting in the Otway Basin. One from TGS SLB Schlumberger involved over 77,000 square metres and 2 Commonwealth marine parks. It was the subject of more than 30,000 complaints to the toothless offshore regulator NOPSEMA. Almost 20,000 of those complaints were from supporters of the Australian Marine Conservation Society. Thanks to concerted campaigning by AMCS and by other community groups, that proposal was recently cancelled. But CGG is now seeking an SPA permit for blasting just off the coast of Warrnambool. This is Southern Right Whale Migration Route Zone. It's a zone for Australian sea lion feeding grounds, and it's where little penguins forage. Speaker, SPAs are additional to the usual government releases of coastal sea waters for oil and gas exploration. They bypass the government's scrutiny and the community consultation which is required for offshore title releases. For the derisory fee of $8,250, companies can gain approval to blast a seabed site for up to 180 days at a time. There is little, if any, supervision of their activities. The permits can be renewed multiple times within a single exploration project. When it considers SPA applications, NOPSEMA doesn't have to look at the past conduct of the proponents, including any of their possible criminal breaches. It doesn't have to look at their financial capacity or their experience. Every application is assessed in isolation. The past or cumulative effect on the ocean health of blasting projects is not considered at the time of permit approvals. Also excluded from consideration is the effect on Aboriginal cultural heritage sites on sea country. This approach is negligent of ecological, environmental and cultural concerns. Seismic blasting is undertaken for 3 reasons: to find oil and gas under the seabed, to identify potential sites for carbon capture and storage, and to assess the effectiveness of any carbon capture and storage projects. Oil and gas developments produce harmful emissions. They have the potential for catastrophic blowout or spill. They employ few locals, and they send our profits and our energy overseas. This government should commit to no new oil or gas projects. It should not permit speculative exploration for them with its concomitant ecological and environmental costs. Carbon capture and storage remains an illusory means of offsetting carbon emissions. It has never achieved its target at scale. It is a risky technology, firstly because of its false proposition of emissions reduction, which is used as a justification for locking in the continued extraction of fossil fuels, but also because there are risks from carbon capture and storage itself. In a marine setting, dissolved carbon dioxide leaking from subsea sites acidifies water. This asphyxiates marine life. Aquatic ecosystems are also threatened by the physical disturbance of drilling, of laying pipelines and of seismic events, subsidence and displacement of aquifers during or after CO2 injection. Sea dumping is aquatic vandalism. It is the more shameful for its secrecy. Our environmental protections are grossly inadequate when, for a derisory fee, an area of seabed the size of Tasmania can be made available to overseas firms for a speculative form of environmental vandalism. This is a process which inflicts auditory violence on our marine life. Speaker, the people of Australia want no new fossil fuel projects off our beautiful coastlines. We implore the government to accept this bill to abolish special prospecting authority permits. It would be an important step towards protecting our marine life, our coastal communities and our fishing industries, and the health of our oceans. I commend it to